Yemeni army accuses militant groups in Ma'rib of collaborating with Houthis. Eritrea releases 120 Yemeni fishermen after 3 months in detention. Welcome to Yemen Today TV. This is the English news with me, Shazad Abdelbey. The U.S. ambassador to Yemen stressed to the critical part of women in advancing the peace process in the country. This came when launching a virtual meeting for women in peace in Hadramaut. In the meeting, leading women activists underlined the role of Yemeni women in building peace amid the long conflict in Yemen. The government forces accused some militant groups in Ma'rib of collaborating with the Houthi militia. Such accusations followed the recent incident when a United Nations convoy was attacked by a number of gunmen while it was on the way from Hadramaut to Ma'rib, in which 9 soldiers got killed. This report has more details.
The Yemeni army has released an official statement threatening tribal militants who are blocking roads between the governorates of Hadramaut and Ma'rib and coordinating with the Houthi militia. The warning follows confrontations with the army during which deaths and injuries occurred on both sides. The Yemeni government at the same time stressed the need to hold Houthi militia accountable for planting landmines. On Friday, Houthi landmines killed 3 civilians in Hais district, southwest of Hodeidah Governorate. A defense ministry official revealed that the attacks carried out by a group of rebellious elements targeted pedestrians on the road linking Ma'rib and Hadramaut. These attacks resulted in the death of 2 and the wounding of 4 army soldiers who were accompanying International Organization for Migration Workers. After its convoy was attacked and 2 of its crew members were killed, the IOM said it was re-evaluating its work in Yemen. Speaking to the media center of the Yemeni Armed Forces, the defense ministry official said that the group has a history of kidnappings and killings. Authorities have issued compulsory arrest warrants against the militant group's members. The official further accused the group of communicating and coordinating with terrorist Houthi militia. He affirmed that the militants were actively targeting soldiers assigned to protect public roads. On Thursday, the group attacked some military points, killing 1 soldier and wounding 3 others. The official affirmed that armed forces will carry out their national duty in securing travelers and protecting the country and citizens, saying that the armed forces will strike with an iron fist anyone who disturbs security and stability, adding that the blood of the martyrs will not be wasted. He also called on the international community and the UN to hold the Houthi leaders and members who are responsible for these killings accountable.
The International Organization for Migration announced the arrival of more than 67,000 African migrants to Yemen. The displacement tracking monitored more than 67,000 migrants who arrived from the Horn of Africa to Yemen this year. They documented the arrival of migrants to the Yemeni coast daily, according to the organization's statement. Massam, the mining project, announced that they dismantled more than 1,000 mines and explosive devices in a week. According to the project, more than 2,000 mines and more than 100 anti-tank mines, 16 anti-personnel mines and 4 explosive devices have been cleared. They pointed out that the total number of mines removed since the beginning of the project until now amounted to 300,000 mines. In Ma'rib, displaced people tend to buy food items which are to expire. Despite the danger that consuming such items can have on their health, they have no option but to buy them as they cannot afford taking other expensive items. This report has more details.
Ma'rib locals and internally displaced people are forced to settle for food commodities that are nearing expiration due to their low cost of purchase, which is ideal for the income of citizens and IDPs. Despite the item's susceptibility to poor storage, compromising is the only option for many consumers. With the prices of these goods running extremely high in commercial stores, many desperate consumers are forced to filter through these near-expired products for their basic home necessities. Among those shoppers is Hajj Ahmed Hashwan, who travels from the city's displacement camps to buy necessities for his family at one of the city's markets.
I come from a displacement camp and my income is very limited. I purchase my household needs at this market, where prices are moderately affordable. The expiry dates are printed on the items, ensuring that they are safe for consumption.
Every day, many locals and displaced persons congregate in this area to purchase various products on the verge of expiry. In this market, shoppers are presented with tempting deals, whereas commercial prices are seen as a rip-off, especially when the Yemeni economy continues to deteriorate. Meanwhile, the store's proprietor claims that by selling these items at lower costs, he is now able to provide the common people access to goods that they could previously not afford. Even though these goods are going to expire, he sells them in large quantities, helping many locals instead of tossing them in the trash.
I try to provide customers with reasonable rates. As the economic conditions deteriorate, shoppers are looking for products they could afford. Here, customers could buy 5 or 6 items with the same price they would buy a single item elsewhere. In addition, this product is open 24 hours. Shoppers, most of whom are IDPs, are resorting to buying nearly expired products. It isn't ideal, but the situation is dire.
Displacement continues, livelihood prospects diminish, and the suffering of citizens and displaced persons aggravates, while humanitarian aid recedes towards interruption, leaving thousands of displaced people to confront starvation and the effects of displacement.
The Yemeni Network for Freedoms and Rights held the Houthi militia responsible for the death sentences of abductees in Sada. They called on the international community to put pressure on the militia to stop such illegal actions against 32 abductees and to release them all. The Houthi militia buried 45 bodies of their fighters in Damar. Houthi media stated that 45 unknown bodies were buried and kept in Damar General Hospital and Ma'bar last year and this year. Houthis also buried 28 bodies in the capital Sana'a. Around 121 Yemeni fishermen were released yesterday after 3 months detention in Eritrea. This report has more details.
121 Yemeni fishermen, including children and elders, arrived to the coastal city of El Khoukhah. They have been kidnapped by the Eritrean Coast Guard in Yemeni territorial waters, in a repeated violation of Yemeni sovereignty, taking advantage of the war situation in Yemen.
We thank God we arrived to our Yemeni land. We've been detained in the Eritrean prison for 3 months. They have tortured us and forced us to work and build huge fences from rocks and stones. If such a thing happened during the rule of Ali Abdullah Saleh, we wouldn't have spent 24 hours in prison. We would have got our boats back or pay a fine and get out immediately.
These fishermen were subjected to the most severe types of abuse, such as the confiscation of boats and property and psychological and physical torture, not to mention the hard work that they are forced to fabricate while they are detained in Eritrean prisons. All these abuses Yemeni fishermen are exposed to while taking risks on the fishing trip in search of a living.
We were 21 Yemenis there. We were treated in an extremely bad way. They forced us to work really hard from the early morning till 6 p.m. They kept giving us a lot of tasks and work to do, no matter how tired or exhausted we were. Whenever we say anything, they tell us that our godfather Ali Abdullah Saleh died and we are now without any protection. Sometimes they give us food, other times they don't.
They arrived to their lands after a journey of detention that lasted for more than a year, during which they experienced great sufferings. They claim for compensation for the losses and the confiscation of the boats by the Eritrean authorities is the only demand that the returning fishermen call for, and they appeal to the legitimate government to intervene and put an end to the Eritrean violations against the Yemeni fishermen. Recently, the Eritrean Coast Guard forces have persisted in crossing the maritime and international borders and committing flagrant violations against Yemeni fishermen without any justification and arbitrarily detaining them from time to time without taking into account the right of neighborhood. Since 2017, the Eritrean Navy has confiscated 900 fishing boats along with their tools and has arrested nearly 5,000 fishermen. During their detention, they were subjected to hard labor and torture, in addition to direct fire, which led to the death of some of them.
In Taiz, tens of citizens carried out a protest to condemn the killing of the citizen Abdurrahman Ahmad. This citizen was killed by the soldier Omar Saeed, and the protesters called on the local military and security authorities in Taiz to hand him over to the public prosecution.
We came out to call for the imprisonment of the criminal Omar Saeed for killing Ahmad Abdullah in his house and in front of his family. We need to deliver our voices to whoever it may concern to implement God's justice. We call for the execution of the killer because he killed my son in front of his family. He asked for money to buy qat, and when my son refused to give him, he killed him.
Coming next in the news. New Saudi oil derivatives grant arrives to Aden to ease fuel crisis.
أنا خارج ألعب جهة أصحابي وهو الرمو علينا إن إحنا لو الرمو قعلي أصحابي صاروا يدعوا أصحاب المخيم بزين صاروا شايفين. صعب إنه معي شيء رجل أقدرش ألعب مع أصحابي أبقى داخل ألعب الليل.
أصلاً الولد ما ألعب ما بدهم أي حاجة، ولما يشوف أصحابه يلعبوا هما برجل واحدة يتعقد الولد الحركات والزمام. هذا أثر علينا كلنا، الوالدة والوالد.
كنت قاعدة نروح المصيف، كنت ألعب كورة وأجري برجلي وألعب مع أصحابي، بعدين أبي صغير والآن ما أقدرش.
Welcome back. OCHA team visited a displacement camp in Hodeidah. The team inspected the dire situation of the camp and affirmed to work with partners to reduce response gaps to meet the needs of vulnerable people, including women, children, and IDPs. Yemen is participating in the activities of the 7th Arab Housing Conference in Egypt. In addition, the conference is going to last for 3 days, with a delegation headed by the Minister of Public Works and Roads. He stressed the importance of such conferences in terms of exchanging experiences with other countries. Farmers in Moza district in Taiz struggle with having access to the basic equipment that can help make their job easier. This report has more details.
In the Moza district, insect pests and lack of resources represent two important factors behind the scarcity of agricultural production in recent years, especially for fruit trees, after insects squander the effort, time, and money spent by farmers here in search of better agricultural production, especially in light of the majority's dependence on agricultural work as a source of livelihood.
We grow these trees and we wait for the harvesting season to collect the fruits. However, when it comes, we are not benefiting at all from it, as insects damage it, and none of the pesticides can help.
Insects and diseases that damage the agricultural production prematurely at a time when farmers are unable to find the appropriate pesticide to get rid of these insects and fungal diseases that affect the agricultural trees due to the scarcity of capabilities among farmers and the lack of interest on the behalf of the concerned authorities.
We need any of the pesticides, especially the ones which contain sulfuric acids, to get rid of the insects. However, there are some conditions to succeed in this process, and one of them is applying the immersion method.
Despite the availability of water through Wadi Al-Aqma River, where agriculture is irrigated through those rivers, but the lack of production and failure to meet the aspirations of farmers remains one of the most prominent concerns in isolating Moza, with the hope that support and attention will be available in the near future as it would raise the pace of agricultural production in the region.
A new economic study revealed that the value of foreign investments which have left Yemen exceeded $1 billion. The study was issued by the Ministry of Planning and International Cooperation funded by UNICEF. It said that the flight of foreign capital abroad amounted to an average of $217 million annually in the period between 2014 to 2021. The Minister of Education discussed with the director of the Saudi program the progress of projects in the educational sector. He affirmed the ministry's eagerness on joint cooperation with different agencies to contribute to covering the actual needs of the educational sector. He also praised the positive role provided by the Saudi program for the development and reconstruction of Yemen. The government announced the arrival of a new Saudi oil derivatives batch to Aden port. This comes as part of the Saudi grant meant to ease the fuel crisis in Yemen and boost up the economy in the country. This report has more details.
On Saturday, the second batch of oil derivatives grant supplied by Saudi Arabia under the Saudi Program for the Development and Reconstruction of Yemen arrived at the Aden oil port. This supports the kingdom's initiatives to boost the power industry, increase job opportunities, and support the government. The cargo included 40,000 tons of fuel and 30,000 tons of mazout. It is part of the grant agreement signed by the development program in September with an anticipated total value of $200 million to deliver 250,000 metric tons of oil derivatives to Yemen to run more than 70 power generation units in the nation. The current grant, a $422 million one that was finalized over the course of a year, is an extension of earlier funds totaling $4.2 billion. The director of the Saudi Development Project Office in Aden assessed the contributions made by oil handouts to the economic stability of the nation, its yearly budget, and the improvements of living standards and services. He stated that they assisting the Electricity Corporation in providing the service to 760,000 customers and about 9.8 million beneficiaries. The Deputy Minister of Electricity and Energy praised the kingdom's assistance to Yemen at various stages and in numerous disciplines. He recognized the significance of Saudi funding and how it directly helped to stabilize the electricity grid and make this service available to a lot of people. He cited the destruction inflicted by the Iranian-backed Houthi fighters' bombing of major oil installations and ports in the governorates of Hadramaut and Shabwa. The Undersecretary of the Ministry of Power also hailed the kingdom's continuous substantial support for Yemen in numerous domains, especially electricity. He confirmed that the Saudi oil handouts aided the ministry and its institutions in providing the service and saved the government considerable sums earmarked to purchase oil derivatives.
Here's a reminder of the main headlines. U.S. Ambassador to Yemen stressed the important role women can play in supporting peace efforts. Yemeni army accuses militant group in Ma'rib of collaborating with the Houthis. Eritrea releases 120 Yemeni fishermen after 3 months in detention. This is the end of the news. Thank you for watching.